NFL in the city of brotherly love, where disgruntled A.J. Brown went to X after just 2 receptions for 7 yards against the Bucs, posting this: "If you're not welcome, not listened to, quietly withdraw. Don't make a scene. Shrug your shoulders. Be on your way." Swagoo, your thoughts?
Look, I don't like the sentiment from A.J. Brown, but this is not new. We acting like this is something that A.J. Brown has done out of the ordinary for the first time. He was disgruntled last year. And A.J. Brown knows one thing about Philly. At some point, it's going to have to be about A.J. Brown making plays. That's the reality. And I think the frustration with A.J. lies with what the expectations are for himself and this offense. We all can sit here as a 4-0 Philadelphia Eagles team and say that they haven't looked good offensively for a large majority of most of these games that they played. Think about the way they've scored. Think about the way they had to beat the Rams. That is not satisfactory. 2 weeks ago, if they don't throw it to A.J. Brown, they lose to the Rams. So he's coming from that sort of prism. I don't know. I played with Terrell Owens in Dallas. He wanted the ball every play. It should be. Here's what we need to do newly. If your number one receiver doesn't have a selfish characteristic, he's not the guy for the position.
He's not the number one.
He's not the number one guy. And that's where A.J. Brown comes from. And then knowing you can impact games and maybe not have to be in the situations Philly has been in late in games as the wide receiver, I think gives some validity to that. I don't like to quietly withdraw and do all of that. It seems like you lead for your team and the social media thing. But at the end of the day, A.J. Brown is going to be very successful in the Philadelphia Eagles uniform this year.
I think you're wrong. I think you're wrong about this because I think you're missing something that's very, very important. I think A.J. Brown is a stud. And at the time he got the contract, which is paying him $32 million, guaranteed at $84 million, locking him in with the Eagles supposedly through 2029. I think the part that you're missing is the character back. A lot of times that has an effect on how you choose to conduct yourself. I understand there's exceptions. You know, a T.O. going to be a T.O. You got other guys that may be temperamental at that position. I get that part. But the willingness last year and then again this year in the throes of winning to bring that kind of attention to yourself, which automatically brings attention to your quarterback, is something most cats on a professional level would be sensitive to. And the fact that A.J. is not as sensitive to that as we would expect him to be, as he normally would be, especially when you got a cat like Jalen Hurts that don't say much and they just win, different.
And they're best friends.
Paul Warfield never do this.
Paul Warfield.
Why is it that A.J. Brown is happier? Does he want to catch 9 balls, 150 yards and lose? Or would he rather win the games?
Don't do that.
Win the games.
We don't have enough time.
Win the games.
Mad Dog.
They're 4-0, Marcus.
Mad Dog.
Win the games.
Paul Warfield, Dolphins or Browns? Which one?
Dolphins. They never threw the ball.
And they won the game 2 weeks ago
I just had to
because
look,
of him.
Well, Devontae Smith.
I just had to look it up. For America, Paul Warfield played from 1964 to 1977.
Very important to this football team. You know, I know he wants to contribute. I know he wants to contribute and, you know, do the things that he's capable of doing. I question nothing about, you know, his desire to play great football, his desire of being a good teammate, his desire to be here.
You know, just to add more context, something interesting that I did not realize. Hembo, Get Up, had this information for us, that A.J. Brown is 5th in the NFL in target share, meaning his percentage of passes thrown by his team thrown to him, 30.5% of the passes thrown by the Eagles go to him. So maybe it's much ado about nothing. I don't know. So what is more likely now? What happened 2 years ago that the Eagles collapsed, or what happened a year ago that they win the Super Bowl?
Well, they're the defending Super Bowl champions who took the Kansas City Chiefs going for a three-peat to the Super Bowl, and it was BTA. Then they come out to start the season. They're undefeated. They have a division win. You've beaten the Chiefs again. You've beaten the Rams, who played you the hardest in the playoffs, and you beat the Bucs, the team in the NFC that gives you fits. And we're wondering if because A.J. Brown put something on social media that got us talking, that they're not going to be able to win games. That's what we're wondering. We've seen different permutations of the drama with the Eagles. We've talked about Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts. We've talked about Jalen Carter. Spitgate, remember that? To start the season?
That's wild.
Remember that? Are they going to make a stand against Jalen Carter? Are they going to teach him a lesson? Is this going to impact the different versions of how we viewed the team? You know, is there something more here? A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts last season. A.J. Brown reading a book on the sidelines. I mean, how many times Big Dom? Remember that? He's fine. Oh, my God, Big Dom. It just feels like we are constantly talking about different little versions of drama with the Philadelphia Eagles that ultimately do not matter because they keep winning games. And they won the Super Bowl, and they've been to 2 in the past 3 years. So, no, I am not worried about the social media posts. I do not think that it's going to result in some big kind of slide from the Eagles. I still think they're the class in the NFC.
A couple of things. First of all, just because you have a high percentage of the team's targets in the passing game doesn't mean that they're using you the right way in terms of the routes that you're running.
Okay.
So we got to be clear on that. And there is a learning curve when you have a new offensive play caller in Kevin Patullo from Kellen Moore, from Brian Johnson the year prior to that. So to have a situation where the player is dependent on the quarterback in order to do his job, and to have the 2 worst passing halves that we've seen through the first quarter of the NFL season is an issue. The first half against the Rams, they had negative passing yards. The second half against the Bucs, Jalen Hurts didn't complete a pass. So those are things that raise an eyebrow. In Smalls, they're undefeated. You're right. Right now, it doesn't matter until it does. And that's the thing that we wonder about. Is this team going to be able to sustain their level of play? Are they going to be able to find a way to continue to win games? Are they going to have block kicks for touchdowns in every single game? Or is this offense going to get back on track? Are we going to see the version of the running game that we got last year with Saquon Barkley? Are we going to get the prolific passing game when they decide to pull that out because teams are loading the box to stop the run? I have questions about the Philadelphia Eagles. Not saying that this team is not capable of competing, because I clearly believe that they are the class of the NFC. But what I am saying is I do not believe that this is sustainable in terms of the team being outgained in yardage in every single game this season.
It reminds me, I said it a couple weeks ago, it reminds me of last year's Chiefs, where it's like something's off, but they keep winning every game, right? And I never believed something was off until they got destroyed by the Eagles in the Super Bowl.
Yes.
So let me ask this then. Could simultaneously, in your mind, something be off and they still end up playing in February?
Yes.
And that's why people like Smalls and I are not that worried about it. Because ultimately, you get to the end result of being back in the Super Bowl for the 3rd time with this group, because I have a tough time, as we sit here today, envisioning someone beating them. Now, that could change, of course. The Rams are great. The Bucs are great.
Yeah, I was about to say, you have a hard time seeing somebody beat them. Those were close ball games.
Yeah, Eagles won both of them.
They won both of them. They were down 3 possessions against the Rams in the second half. And then the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were in a 1-possession game, had 2 possessions in the fourth quarter in plus territory and got no points, in large part because Baker Mayfield threw an interception at the goal line. I'm just...
But we can work the opposite way now.
All 4 of their wins have been in 1-score games.
Sure. And I get it. I'm just saying that I don't believe it's sustainable to have every opposing offense outgain your offense in every single game and the Eagles get back to where they were last year. I don't think that at some point, and I don't know who that team is, at some point somebody's going to clip you. And I guess that's the issue that A.J. Brown was alluding to or intimating about when he went to social media. Now, do I like his method? Hell no. I don't like it. Because you say you don't want to draw attention to something, and then you draw attention to it by putting it out on social media. So you do the thing that you say you weren't trying to do. But I do think there are concerns. There are real issues in terms of what that Eagles offense looks like.